What's up, guys? I hope you're well. Today we're checking out how do F1 teams decide their pit strategy. I have no clue. Let's get into it.
How do F1 teams choose whether to undercut or overcut? Tactics in Formula 1 is absolutely everything. It can be the difference between winning and losing. Minor fractions of a second lost due to a bad strategy call can be worth millions when all is said and done at the end of the season. One of those crucial decisions that F1 teams and drivers have to go through is when to take their pit stops and what tyre to go on. Now, the term undercut and overcut is thrown around a lot in commentary, so let's break down what they actually mean and give you a real-world example. The 2021 American Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton versus Max Verstappen. Let's start with the undercut. This one is definitely the most fun strategy option if you're a driver. It allows you to go on the aggressive and potentially gain a few places by pitting sooner than the cars you're chasing ahead. Using Cota in this instance, Lewis got the lead at the start and the Red Bull couldn't make a move on track, so it turned to strategy to get Max track position. The best solution was to pit early, come off the wearing tyres that have been on since the start of the race, and whack on a fresh set. Now, each team knew that the other had to make two stops due to the nature of tyre degradation around the circuit, so it immediately, at this point in the race, gave Verstappen the pace advantage on his new set of hard tyres. The fact that he was much quicker than Lewis on his first lap out the pits meant that Mercedes and Lewis couldn't react to this strategy call by Red Bull and had to commit to staying out longer. So what were Mercedes thinking with leaving Lewis out? Well, if they pit the next lap, they would have become victims to the undercut as Max would have passed them on track, and they wouldn't have really gained any advantage whatsoever other than one lap fresher tyres, which wouldn't be enough to pass Max on track. Therefore, if we skip ahead to the second round of pit stops, Lewis and Mercedes executed the overcut. The overcut can be used in a few different situations, but two main ones spring to mind. One is when a track is far too difficult to overtake and you're stuck behind a much slower car and simply wait for them to pit, use whatever is left in the tyres and pass them by having much more pace over the next few laps and then taking your pit stop. The second, and what we saw in the US Grand Prix, was Hamilton utilising the extra few laps he went in the first stint over Max to then extend even further into the second stint. Now, this wasn't to try and pass the Red Bull in the pit stops because he was much slower. Oh no, it was to then have a massive tyre advantage in the last 20 or so laps in the race. This element of the overcut is aggressive in its own right, but just later on in the race, when the undercutters, technical term I promise, start to struggle because they committed their strategy to pitting early. Red Bull had decided early doors that they were going to go on the aggressive, pit early both times and get track position. This was most likely because they knew they had the best package and also the fact that Verstappen had a much lower top speed, so overtaking Hamilton on track was going to be difficult. There was maybe a small window of opportunity for Lewis as he closed up on his first set of hard tyres to try the undercut, but he just wasn't able to get close enough for the Mercedes strategy team to decide that pitting him one lap earlier, popping in a stonking out lap, would have been enough to jump the Dutchman. It was a strategic masterclass by Red Bull, not only with Max, but also with Sergio. They also technically undercut him too against Hamilton, which forced Mercedes to react sooner than they would have wanted, otherwise Sergio, on his fresh rubber, would have passed Lewis after the first round of pit stops. So to sum up, there are a lot of factors teams take into account when deciding to undercut or overcut. Overcutting in most instances is for teams that have a pace advantage over their competitors, or if they simply have to try something different in order to beat a team that they're very close on pace with, which is what we saw in the US Grand Prix. Undercutting is primarily for obtaining track position, which works much better at circuits where it's very difficult to overtake. There you have it, an insight into the strategic headache that teams have every single race weekend with the timing of pit stops.
Interesting. Yeah, it's kind of NASCAR does the same thing, either it's just pit strategies, for tire wear, you go in early, you're going to have, fresher tires quicker, but if you wait a few more laps and you go out, your fresher tires are going to be able to kind of catch up to the older tire pack ahead of you, and most likely they'll be able to pass. That's very interesting. I enjoyed that. I hope you did too. With that being said, I want to thank you all for watching. Stay safe, and don't forget to wash your hands. Bye.